It's great to spend some time sharing some thoughts with you regarding self-care. My name is Dr. David Watson. I am an individual, marriage, and family national board certified counselor. I also provide relationship and communication consulting work with family-owned business enterprises and other organizations. I have a unique twist to my professional history in that I served for 8 years on the pastoral staff of Indianapolis First Church of the Nazarene. Having served in direct ministry and in the helping profession for my entire career, I wholeheartedly recognize the importance of self-care. While I'm sharing with you today, I am also speaking to myself, as I too must continually practice self-care in my own professional and personal life. I'm titling this video, "How's Your Oxygen Mask?" This is an illustration I use often in seminars and in my practice when working with individuals and the concept of self-care. It is both simple and profound. So as you know, when you fly in a commercial airliner, a part of the safety instruction is that in the event of the loss of cabin pressure, there will be an oxygen mask drop down. The instruction given is that you put the mask on yourself first and then assist others. That always has seemed so counterintuitive to me. Shouldn't we make sure others are okay first? No. The person responsible for the well-being of others must first be certain that they are alive and well. It really is very simple. You can't give what you don't have. Before we look at this in more depth, let me suggest that I recognize that I'm probably speaking to persons positioned in one of three groups related to self-care. Those who practice self-care quite well and are intentional about it. Those who practice self-care fairly well, but struggle sometimes to sustain the effort. Or those who have difficulty with self-care and tend to operate by just pushing through, or who have difficulty with the actual implementing of self-care in your life and ministry. Or those who are new to direct ministry and this concept has really not been needed in your life. You're in what I call new territory. As I share with you today, think about which of these groups you might identify with the most. Each of you, regardless of your role in ministry, have exceptional levels of demand placed upon you daily. Actually, there's much research showing that those in ministry are one of the most frequent point of contact for people with problems dealing with emotions, mental health, alcohol, and substance abuse issues. A leading study in 2003 by Wang, Berglund, and Kessler shows that 25% seek help from clergy first, 16% from a medical doctor, and 16% from a psychiatrist. As you know, people in need will phone you, text you, invite you to come to their homes and hospital rooms at any hour of the day or night. The needs truly are great, and you are a trusted source for providing significant help. Direct ministry and kingdom building requires a high level of self-care for both effectiveness and sustainability. May I also remind you and myself that practicing self-care should not solely be thought of for the benefit of those we serve in our ministry areas. The value and benefits of our health and well-being must also be available for the important people in our lives, our spouses, children, extended family members, and friends. Before talking about practicing self-care, let me state that first and foremost, we as Christian servants strive to seek God and draw upon His supernatural resources. No doubt most of you have experienced being in a perplexing, near impossible situation in ministry or in your personal life, and then God makes a provision way beyond your capabilities or energy, which often amazes you and perhaps those around you. So please understand that our accessing of and depending upon God's provision is totally appropriate and should be paramount in all of our ministry endeavors. What follows is that beyond God's provision, there is also the need for us to be doing our part. This means being aware of our need for oxygen and seeking to intentionally replenish our oxygen. So I have three questions. Question number one, why is this so important? Question number two, how do we do this? Question number three, why don't we do this as we should? So question number one, why is this so important? Beyond self-care being important for providing optimal care for others, to not practice self-care has great potential risks. The primary risk is depletion. Please understand that depletion is not the same as fatigue or tiredness. Depletion is literally not having anything left within yourself to draw upon. I've encountered numerous individuals in my practice who arrive totally depleted and whose functioning level is either non-existent or extremely low. This is very dangerous and can even be catastrophic. Recovery is always very challenging, and it's not a place you want to find yourself. Question number two, how do we do this? Self-care is a very individual journey. We each must find those sources that personally provide replenishing energy. This is important for both the external and internal dimension of our lives, and must go beyond the basic eating and sleeping care we do for ourselves. Because this is a very individual journey, each person has his or her preferential sources that work. For me, reading, music, driving fast, outdoor activity, and a long hot shower are all some of my sources of energy replenishing. What are some of yours? Begin thinking about this now, and we'll address it a little bit later. Question number 3, why don't we do this as we should? This is a harder question to answer. So often in ministry, the pressures associated with the immense needs around us circumvent our taking the time to take care of ourselves. I think I can safely say that this happens for all of us. In ministry, we might also struggle with discerning when it might be appropriate to say no. Oh my, did I really say that? Yes, I did. There are indeed times when this is a valid and healthy response. If you recall, Jesus modeled this when he chose to push away from the crowds periodically. Could it be that sometimes we push beyond healthy responses because we long for approval? Look at how much I'm doing for others. Or could we have a need to be needed? Or could we enjoy the "it feels good to help someone" drug-like fix? Could it be that we conclude that taking care of ourselves would be considered selfish? Sometimes the narrative we construct for ourselves is that if we don't assist everyone and every need that comes our way, we feel guilty. Notice I said feel guilty. This is an emotional feeling of guilt, and we must be careful to understand that the feeling of guilt is different from objective guilt. Objective guilt is the result of willful wrongdoing. When we are practicing self-care, there is no willful wrongdoing involved. We are simply taking care of ourselves, ultimately to enhance our service to others. We all can fall prey to any or all of these sorts of dynamics in our calling to help and serve others. What is important is that we become more mindful of these dynamics and focus on becoming more intentional in our own self-care. As we have looked at these 3 questions, recall with me the 3 groups I described earlier and think for a moment where you find yourself positioned. The group of someone who is practicing self-care intentionally and sustains it well. If this is you, let this be a reminder and keep at it. The group of someone who understands the need for self-care but struggles with being able to sustain their efforts of self-care. If this is you, perhaps you may want to spend some time analyzing your struggle and working at developing more intentional self-care practices. The group of someone who struggles significantly with self-care or may be in new territory in ministry. If this is you, try and find some source to help you with understanding and developing self-care practices. So as you fly the Helping and Serving Others airline, there is a safety message especially for you. In the event that others are in desperate need of help, in crisis, or experiencing major life struggles, place the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then assist others. It really is up to you. Be intentional about taking care of yourself. In fact, I want to challenge you to begin now. When you finish viewing this video, give yourself some oxygen right now. Sit down and list 2 or 3 activities that you know are energy replenishing for you. If you have difficulty, seek the input of someone who knows you well. Then set aside some time to take action intentionally, today, or at the latest tomorrow. It really isn't selfish. In fact, the truth is you'll be better not only for yourself, but for others as well. For you will be giving others the best of you instead of what's left of you. So welcome aboard the Helping and Serving Others airline. Enjoy the flight. It has been an honor to share these thoughts with you today. God bless you in all your ministry efforts.